Hello guys, welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about GeoFS again. And actually we're going to be talking about 5 tips and tricks you can do to improve your experience in GeoFS. So let's get to it. Now, starting off with the first one, it is the Piper Cub floats. So the Piper Cub floats are actually pretty easy to get. All you need to do is press Z and see. Yeah. They can be used for different things. Actually, they can only be used for one thing. It's a lie. Um, which is navigating in the water. So you see, I have water effect on right now, and I'm about to head right into the water, as you see. And it's actually going to be pretty useful because if I didn't, I would just sink to the ground. Now, unfortunately, they only come in one color and they're pretty shady, so it doesn't look really good. But at least it's floats that you can use. And they're not too bad. Now, I can test again, to see how it is with landing. So, here I just spawned into a big lake here. And, I can press Z, then it gives the floats. Aerodynamically, I don't think it's really modeled, but, in the water, it's actually pretty hard to land. You actually have to be at a certain degree. It's like about here. Um, Let me just wait for this to float down. Not a lot of people know this, and not a lot of people talk about it, which is surprising, even though seaplanes aren't really popular in GeoFS. Now, as you can see, I'm about to land in this lake with the floats on. Now, only a couple of aircraft have this. There's only one community contributed plane I know that has this, and there's also the I think the Beaver. I wonder where it is right now. Yeah, the DHC2 Beaver, which also has this. It's actually pretty easy to land in that one. But we're gonna land in this one anyways. As you can see, I'm about to land here, pretty close to the water. So make sure you have that right approach, unless you don't want to topple over. And there we landed. And that is the first tip and trick of the day. Now, the second trick is actually SimBrief flight plans. Now, if you're a CRP pilot, a civilian roleplay pilot, you really would want to have this because it's free and it's actually pretty easy to use. Now, about a year ago, GeoFS added the flight plan section in the navigation panel, and it can be used to make flight plans. It's really useful for a lot of CRP pilots, but it actually takes about 15 minutes to correctly format and all of that, which is quite a long time, and no one really wants to waste all that time just in flight planning. Now, there's actually a way to make this more simple. It's with SimBrief flight plans. Now, how to get a SimBrief flight plan is easy. You just go to the SimBrief website, as you can see here, virtual flight planning. Accept all cookies. It really doesn't matter that. Now you can log in, and if you haven't made an account, it will give you all of that. And you can make one using your Google account or whatever. And you can see sign in here. I already have an account because I've used it before. You can also use an email, but I usually use Google. And here we go. So, To make a SimBrief flight plan, you basically just input your departure airport using ICAO codes. So let's just say we're going from Orlando to Atlanta. So KMCO is which is Orlando, and then KATL, which is Atlanta. And then we choose our aircraft type, which we are using in A320 200. And where was that? Here we go. Now it's gonna give us an auto-generated flight plan, and it'll give us an ascent and descent profile and everything. That's pretty good. I mean, it really saves you a lot of time. And it gives you the departure and arrival runway, the block time, and other things. Now, to input this SimBrief flight plan into the flight plan in the GeoFS, you have two options. You can, one, either download it via here and generate flight, and then you're gonna have like or you can actually, you have to put save flight, and it'll, wait, no. Yeah, I was correct the first time, sorry. You have to go into generate flight, and then after, you can download it, and then you have to give it into a JSON file. And, then you just basically input it using safe, you basically just put open flight plan file here in, GeoFS. Now, the second option, which is way easier, is basically just going here into options, then you go into general, and then you just input your SimBrief alias. Now, to get your SimBrief alias, it's actually not hard, but you just have to go into account settings. I'm gonna blur most of this just because. But, you should have a section named alias, which is your username. And then basically you just copy that, into GeoFS, and then you put it right here into the alias section. Then you can just press import SimBrief flight plan, and there you go. You have a fully functional or almost fully functional SimBrief flight plan. Now, unfortunately, I didn't really press generate flight plan when I was in here, so it really didn't give me the flight that I just made. But to save, to make your flight go into there, you can just have to press generate flight, and then do all I said, and then it'll give you that flight plan. Now there is something missing from the SimBrief flight plans, which I really don't know how to input in SimBrief, but it is the speed values. So you can either control that via here, or, wait, no, via here, or just put it in the flight plan. Honestly, I just control it in the autopilot section. Really doesn't matter for me. But there you go, a fully functional flight plan in less than 5 minutes, which is saves a lot of time and boredom. Let's just say. Now, the third trick is the most simple of them all, and it's basically just making your mouse look like a yoke, which actually helps a lot, surprisingly. Now, if you fly with your mouse like me sometimes, you might actually want to have this because it's actually easier to see, and you get more precise measurements. Now, to get this, basically you only have to go into Options, General, and then Show Yoke Mouse Cursor. And then it gives you this yoke here. And as you can see, it says more visible, but I also think it improves precision. Now here I'm just gonna fly and go to 8. I'm not really gonna show a comparison, I'm just gonna show how smooth it looks, but as you can see, that was really simple. You only need really to open two things, and that's all. And if you don't fly with, if you fly with keyboard, maybe you shouldn't have this. Or if you fly with a joystick, um, like me sometimes, I just don't use it, but if you do have to fly with a mouse, then I'd recommend this, definitely. It's 10 out of 10, honestly. And, as you can see, it just feels good. I mean, Yeah, simplest trick, but not certainly not the least useful trick. Now, this trick is probably the most known of these, but it's still useful. And basically, it is the carrier cable hook. So, if you know about carriers, you actually know that, carriers actually have about 3 cables on the start of the runway. So you can, so fighters and other aircraft can attach to them and slow down the aircraft before it overruns. Now, as you can see, it is modeled in GeoFS, and here I can actually attach to one of those, and I just slowed down, as you can see. And that actually helps a lot if you're trying to carrier land. Not all aircraft have this. About, I think only the F-14 and the F-16 have this. Now, if I'm wrong, you can correct me on that in the comments, but it's still pretty useful if you're in the MRP section of GeoFS. And yeah, it's again a really useful trick you should really use. Now, for the final trick, and this is gonna be also pretty useful and pretty simple to get, but it is called the runway overlay, and basically what it does is put overlays over runways that you might not be able to see really well and not center line with well. Now to get this, it's actually pretty easy. You just go into options, graphics, and show runway overlays should be right there on SR. Now, once you do this, a runway overlay should pop over the current runway right now. See the runway pretty easily, and this should help out with landing. Here I'm just gonna land. Now sometimes it can be off center, and that's fine honestly for me. But if it isn't fine for you, you can pay the $7-8 a year. Actually, I think it's a bit more to get HD. But if you don't want it, I guess this is the best option for you. And I actually use SR. I don't want to pay for HD. But here I'm about to rent, and as you can see all the parts of the runway easier. The about to land here. Now, as you can see, it is off center, but this is not all the time. This is only like this is only like 30% of the time that is off center. And if you don't have to use it, you don't have to use it. That's fine. Now, here we have the takeoff. Oh, we have the landing threshold here. About to land. And as you can see the center line here in the runway overlay. And we used to have this back when we didn't have SR, but it got removed, so now you have to manually input it. But that's fine. So, and, well, that's it. That is the 5 tips and tricks. Now, if you don't want, if you want to know how, this runway looks without the overlay because you haven't been here, this is how it looks. I mean, you really can't tell the center line here, but with it, you really can tell the center line here. But it's really a matter of option. Now anyways, that's all the 5 tips and tricks, which are pretty useful in GeoFS. Now, like, subscribe, do whatever you want. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.